Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Kicking Balls FC. It is very early in the morning. Actually, it's around 8 o'clock here Pacific time on the West Coast. And let me tell you guys, I actually got up early in the morning to actually watch some Asian AFC World Cup qualifying. Now, not all of the matches are done. Let me just add that. But the most important matches to kind of determine who's going to go into the World Cup pretty much has already been decided, right? So we're going to go through what happened today in World Cup qualifying. So something to keep in mind is that, oh man, like let me tell you that I did not see this result coming. A lot of people didn't, but Twitter has been going crazy. I'll tell you something. But overall, I will say that looking at the situation in the Asian qualifiers, this actually has big implications also for anybody that is going to be paying attention to the South American CONMEBOL qualifications that are happening later today. All the qualifications are happening today, just to give you an idea, right? So now that you see a little bit of the Asian qualification, right? So today, there was a match between South Korea and Iran. Both of them already were qualified, right? Let's get them out of the way. And South Korea won 2-0, right? Sun from Tottenham Hotspur made a very good goal, but it was also kind of the keeper's fault in a way because it actually slipped through his hands. So, they're just playing for bragging rights right now to see who's on top. So congratulations to South Korea and Iran for qualifying to the World Cup, but they already been qualified. Now, what we want to pay attention now is the second group because it's divided into two groups, Group A and Group B. Group B has already been decided, right? So the way it worked was that right now, I already told you that there are some games that are going on at this very moment, right? So the game that we're going to be focusing on right now is Japan versus Australia. And the game actually started around 2:30 in the morning Pacific time, just to give you an idea how early it was in Japan. Well, here I should say. But I actually got a couple of highlights. I actually saw it again on the Paramount Plus replay because if you are subscribed to Paramount Plus, you can actually see the Asian qualifiers without a problem. So that is pretty good. So looking at the qualifiers, right? So we still have a couple games left to be played. So Australia and Japan, right? 0 for Australia and then 2 for Japan, right? So I'll tell you something. Um, that was a surprise game. I really thought that Australia was going to win, especially since they were the home team, and Japan actually was going to be the underdogs in this one. You already see Lebanon, Syria. That game is already concluded, so we're going to see that. So give me one sec, see if this is working right now. Uh, making sure. So, sorry about that. Trying to get this thing to work, but nonetheless, we're seeing right now, um, just kind of like I would say, the results so far, right? We still have China and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia already qualified, and Iraq and United Arab Emirates, which is basically the game that we're gonna see, and I think that is the game that is a little consequence right now, and I'll tell you why, right? So Australia versus Japan. This game was a nail biter, let me tell you, because it was 0-0 on halftime and it was 0-0 all the way up to the 89th minute, right? So this game right here, you can kind of tell that Japan had most of the possession. Shots on target, Japan had 20. Oh, shots, I mean just shots in general, 20. Shots on target, 7 compared to 3 on Australia. And then the shots 20 compared to 9. Uh, you can see the pass accuracy, yellow cards. There was no red cards. There were a couple of sides, but you can kind of tell that Japan was the aggressor right there. They were pushing forward. And once you see this table right here, you see Japan in first place of Group B with 21 points. Then you see Saudi Arabia with 20 points. And then you see Australia with 15 points. And then the rest, you see Oman, China, and Vietnam that are basically have been eliminated, from contention of qualifying for the World Cup. So because of that win that Japan did, from the 89th minute and then all the way to injury time, right? It was 2-0 win for Japan. It was just a shock all of Australia right now. I'm already seeing on Twitter, I'm seeing it on the headlines. I even seen Australian replays on that. Oh man, it was just tough to watch. But nonetheless, what you're seeing right now is just how Japan, and because of that win, Saudi Arabia also qualified as well. So there isn't any shadow of a doubt that we already have at least 4 Asian representatives that are going into the World Cup. So we have South Korea and Iran. Now we have Japan and Saudi Arabia. So we have those 4. Now, take a look at the table here, right? We have Australia on 3, right? Now, when we go back and we look at the standings, right? We see that South Korea, Iran, Japan, Saudi Arabia, they're all 1 and 2. But now we have this interesting conundrum here. So we have United Arab Emirates, or the UAE, and Australia on 3rd place, right? I don't see Lebanon getting that 3rd spot in Group A. I've seen, you can kind of see like their performances as well. Um, and then Oman is right now at the moment. I think they already finished playing. Let me set that. Well, they have a win, but I don't think they're gonna catch up to yeah, they're not gonna catch up to Australia. 8 points. So if that's the win, yeah, they're not gonna catch up. So we can already assure that Australia is gonna be going into the 4th round, which is the playoff, Asian playoff. And what it means is that Australia is probably going to play the United Arab Emirates as part of um, the playoffs. And between those 2 teams, after they play that playoff, they actually have to play another playoff with the South American representative of CONMEBOL, the 5th place team, I believe, right? So if we go to the CONMEBOL, right? So we go to CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying, right? And we look at the standings right now for CONMEBOL. So Brazil and Argentina has already been qualified. Brazil was one of the first teams to qualify. Let me add that. Argentina already qualified. So Ecuador, or Uruguay, and Peru are the ones that are looking to book their ticket directly. And the games are today, right? So Australia and the UAE must be thinking already that they're hoping to win that playoff game between each other. And also, they also have to think about, they have to pay attention to the South American World Cup qualifying that is happening today. And then it's going to happen next week as well. So you see Ecuador, you see Uruguay, you see Peru. So for now, if the standings are the same by this time, it would look like Peru would be in that playoff spot against an Asian team, which is actually not bad to the sense, because if we remember in the last World Cup qualifying for Russia of 2018, Peru were in the exact same position. And I remember it was a crazy night in which Chile um, basically lost against B-side Brazil, in which I think if they were at home, I believe, and all they had to do was just get a point, but they couldn't do that. And then Peru won, and they were able to win against, I believe, Colombia, if I'm Trying to remember that. It was a crazy night of World Cup qualifying. I remember in South America. So if things turn out, and I'm kind of predicting that Australia is going to beat UAE, right? So it would be Australia versus Peru in that playoff, intercontinental playoff that's going to happen in Qatar this June. So that is something to kind of look forward to. And I think that Peru actually has the edge over Australia, just like they had the edge versus New Zealand last time around. And this time, you have to remember the intercontinental playoff, there is no two legs, right? It's not going to be a home and away. It's just going to be one game in the neutral venue in Qatar. So they're going to use the Qatar World Cup stadiums as a dress rehearsal in a way, which I think they should have done it for a Confederations Cup, but it is what it is. So that's what's going to happen. And then going back to the Asian qualifying, right? Let's go back. So we already know the standings. We have to also see the remaining matches as well. So the last final matches that we see right here after today, it's going to be Japan versus Vietnam, right? Iran versus Lebanon, UAE versus South Korea, Syria versus Iraq, Oman versus China, and then Saudi Arabia versus Australia. So that basically concludes, who is the first Asian representatives for the World Cup. We already have 4 of them. So all we need to know is if Australia or the United Arab Emirates is going to be their 5th representative, right? I don't see that happening, especially in a neutral venue. We already know what Peru is capable of. Uruguay, Ecuador, any of those South American teams is just merciless, and they have a very good winning record versus Asian teams, I believe. I think the only time that a team that wasn't uh, from I'm trying to remember the only team that beat a South American team to go through the World Cup through a playoff was Australia, and it was against Uruguay. I remember that was in 2000 for the 2006 World Cup. So maybe Australia can get a little lucky, but I don't know because I didn't see a very good Australian team this time around, and they were doing such a fantastic job through qualifying. But sorry about that. So um, what I can tell you right now is that uh, it looks very bleak, to say the least, with Australia. It looks very bleak, and I have to say as well, for Japan out there, congratulations for making the World Cup in a most dramatic fashion. People are celebrating there. Hey, look at me. I'm wearing my Captain Tsubasa official Japanese style kit, right? So you're welcome, Japan, for winning that thing. I believed in you guys. So yeah, it looks good. I think so far, I think that looking at the situation, it's going to be Australia that's going to win that Asian playoff to head to that intercontinental playoff. So I would think that um, you know Australia really needs to play better, right? And now that they know they're not going to go directly to the World Cup, they must use that last game as preparation for the Asian playoff and then study their opponent, study carefully, and start watching those videos of that 5th place CONMEBOL team. Because looking at the situation, it could be Peru, it could be Uruguay, and it could be Ecuador. One of those 3 could be the 5th place team, and that would be something, I would tell you. And Asia doesn't have a good record versus South American teams, and that is something to be worried about if you're an Australia fan. And I feel for you guys because you guys had everything just perfectly lined up for you guys to qualify, but then this happens, and now it's an uphill battle. And it would be interesting. You know what? I would say I know I might be getting some hate on this, but I kind of hope that Uruguay is the team that you play against the Intercontinental Playoff, because what greater story of World Cup qualifying than having that revenge match for Uruguay, because they're going to remember that game that they lost in 2005, I believe, uh, for not making the World Cup in Germany of 2006. So I think that would be a very good match. It has everything of a making of a blockbuster, in my opinion. But I don't know. I, Peru would have to play the game of their lives today to make that a reality. And you know, I think that looking at the Asian representatives, they are very good. They're very good technically, and they have very good players in the Premier League, the Bundesliga, and so on. So do not sleep on South Korea or Japan. And I think that if the World Cup has shows anything, is that the Asian teams, they could play, and especially that it's going to be in Asian soil in Qatar this year. And ever since the World Cup of Korea and Japan, Asian teams tend to do really good, right? So hopefully that is the case. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that Australia is going to have a chance to make it to the Intercontinental Playoff? Or are they going to lose against the UAE? Right? Because right now, that's the matchup: UAE versus Australia for the playoff, to have that playoff intercontinental ticket, right? Not directly to the World Cup. So, what do you think, that Australia is going to make it? I think Australia is going to make it. I think they're going to beat UAE. I think that uh, it all depends who their opponent is for that South American team. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but I'm going to be back again later today. I'm going to do a post game analysis for the Euro qualifiers playoffs as well. So the playoff Euros that are happening later today. It's going to be interesting, guys. We're going to see what these teams are going to be made of. And it was kind of anticlimactic in a little bit for the Asian qualifiers. Now that we know who's qualified, yeah, there's not much to say anymore. I think that's it. I think unless something dramatic happens, which I don't think it's going to happen, if Lebanon somehow, you know, gets to that third spot, maybe, but I don't know. I think we already know who the two candidates for the playoff is going to be, and all that is decided is who's going to win. So expect, if the game is not too early, maybe I'll do a live stream of that playoff. And also, I'm also going to make sure that I do a live stream of those playoffs, intercontinental playoffs, because those are going to be very fun to watch, right? So, what do you guys think, guys? Are you guys happy with the Asian representatives that are qualified? So that's South Korea, Iran, Japan, and Saudi Arabia, right? Those are the teams that I believe also qualified for the last World Cup, right? So let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think, um, to see if, do you think that the one of the Asian teams could maybe make a surprise run in the World Cup, right? A lot of people are saying that Qatar, since they won the Asian Championship, they could make a run. They are playing in home soil. Others say that South Korea has a chance, and also Japan has a chance. So we'll see. So again, thank you guys for watching this live stream. Right, we're gonna cut it, and also make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel of Kicking Balls FC. Share it with your friends. Right, and I'm going to come back again twice. All right. The second time later today, I'm going to be doing a post game analysis of the Euro playoff games that are happening later today. And then I will come back also around 6:30 ish, to watch a live watch along of the CONCACAF World Cup. Um, I'm going to say Classico, That's the best way to do the best rivalry in CONCACAF, USA versus Mexico in the Azteca. And then also, I will come back later today to do another post game analysis of the South American CONMEBOL qualifiers. So it's going to be a whole day of qualifiers on Kicking Balls FC. So make sure you also follow me on Twitter as well to give you all the good stuff, all the results and stuff. And let me know, hit me a comment, hit me a like, hit me a follow as well. Tell me which team I should follow for the Euro qualifiers. I know that I'm pulling for Italy to qualify since they, failed to qualify. And then for South America, I already have my two teams that I like so much, Brazil and Argentina. I'm kind of pulling for Peru because, I love their food and I love the way they play soccer as well. And I like their kits as well. So maybe if they win, I'll display my Peru quit. And even if they don't win, I'll display it nonetheless. So, all right, guys. So thank you so much. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification so you know when those future videos of Kicking Ball FCs are available, and also hit me up on Twitter as well. All right, guys. So buckle up, guys. It's gonna be a full day of World Cup qualifying. All right, it's gonna be exciting. I've never been this excited. In that we already know that the World Cup is gonna come really soon, and don't forget about the World Cup draw that's gonna happen on April 1st. And you better believe that I'm gonna try my best to get a live stream going when that draw happens. All right, guys, stay awesome.